Welcome to Ask Logic, the video series where we're answering your questions. I'm Todd Smith and I'll be your host. Throughout this video series, we're going to cover things that we're experts in. So SEO, web design, web development, PPC, social media, photography, and videography. That's why we wanted to start Ask Lifted Logic, to help serve out content to people who aren't just our clients. Because the more you guys know, the better decisions you can make. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ask Lifted Logic. I'm your host, Todd Smith, and joining me is Courtney, our residential PPC expert, social media expert, all things digital advertising. This is the one-stop shop of knowledge for us.
That is my life.
Don't sound too excited about it. I
used to tell people I write clickbait for a living.
Yeah, a majority of millennials at this point, I think, can say that. I read something the other day, and it was saying something like, the best minds of my generation are just busy getting people to click on ads.
Yes.
And that really...
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, and it kind of hit home, right? But I guess it beats like just inputting numbers into a spreadsheet. So
yes,
we're really just making leaps and bounds of improvement there. Guys, today we'll be talking about PPC. So high level, then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty. If you have any questions, feel free to hashtag AskLL. And we'll do probably another follow-up to this because this is a pretty broad topic that will help you guys.
Talk for days.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover. And we'll get into that right now. So, Courtney, what is PPC? Like, what does that stand for?
It means pay per click.
Okay. When would I need PPC? Or what does it all entail?
PPC is a great option when you want to get some content out there, whether it's promoting a blog post, promoting a special, just trying to get followers or some engagement with your website, especially if you're not ranking organically. So I know we've talked about this before with Becca, our SEO guru. So she kind of works on the organic side of things, and I work on the paid side of things. So if you're wanting to rank, for example, plumber in Kansas City, and that's a really competitive market for you, your website isn't quite there yet, you're working on it, you're having it redone, it was just redone and it's still indexing, we can kind of get you to the top of Google by paying for it.
Mm-hmm. What things or what types of PPC are there? Like, what's all included under the giant umbrella that is PPC? So I know you have Google AdWords, you have Bing ads, you have Yahoo ads. Would social media be PPC?
Yes. Yeah, you can run pay-per-click or, pay per impression, pay per.
So at a really high level, PPC is any type of marketing you're doing that you're paying to get users to your site.
Yes.
So if you're putting money into Facebook or Instagram or Google or Bing or Yahoo or any of those platforms, you're doing a form of PPC.
Yes.
Cool.
Reddit too.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Reddit. Super underrated. It also really depends on what you're advertising for. I think that's going to be the caveat with a lot of this stuff. There's no one solution for everything. A lot of it's going to be based on product, based on like what page you're driving them to, based on what your website looks like. There's not just, you have a business, go do this. So that's why we work with a lot of clients on a regular basis. That's why Courtney's in like a lot of PPC accounts daily, making sure that the AdWords or the social media or whatever is tracking and doing like what it's supposed to be doing. I guess another question that we get a lot is, how does a business know if they should use PPC?
So if you have certain numbers you have to hit, it's always a good kind of bottom line cushioner, I like to say. Like, it kind of, if you can get on a PPC platform that lets you kind of cover the ads that you want, the placements you want, the keywords you want, and then it kind of is constantly just running in the background, giving you like a certain amount of leads per month that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten. Or you may have gotten through organic, but it's just kind of a little bit more guaranteed. There's different types of ads you can run for, like, you can get phone calls versus form fills versus, so it kind of depends on what you want. But it's a great way to supplement more leads coming through.
Mm-hmm. I guess, PPC in general doesn't necessarily equal more leads, but it is going to give you an opportunity to get more people to your site.
Yeah, and there's different, we'll get into this later, but like different types of ads are more, some are more for that top of mind awareness versus like actual actions right now conversions versus like it kind of depends on your buying cycle, your profit margins and things like that, how you kind of capture customers through the PPC. But a lot of it is just like getting your name out there, kind of building that awareness so that when people, need your services, they think of you first because they've seen your ads on Facebook and on Google. And then they also saw you on Instagram one time and like all of those things, they all come together.
So it's just a way to kind of get your content out to more people, but you'll be paying for it.
Yes.
But I guess, do you only pay if someone clicks on the ad? Do you pay for impressions? Like, how does that, is it different based on the platform?
Yeah. Yeah. So on Facebook, you can pay per click, you can pay per impression. You can pay for what's called a landing page view. So that would be, you have to have a pixel set up, a Facebook tracking pixel, and it knows when someone comes to your website and spends a certain amount of time on that page.
Is that one the most expensive usually?
It really depends on the competition in your industry, like what cost is going to be. But the most expensive is usually like paying for a landing page view because you know someone came to your site. Pay per impression is going to be like the cheapest form because that's more of that top of mind awareness. You just want people to see it. And you're not really concerned if they take actions so much.
Who would impressions be a good fit for? Like, what's an example of a company?
A jewelry company, maybe, just like making really nice display type ads. So using a lot of imagery, showing off the product, because not everyone, obviously, it's more for businesses who they recognize that someone may not need this right now. It's not a service.
Usually like a longer buying cycle.
Yeah. We have a client who does like basement, like drying, like they dry out the drywall and stuff when you flood. And so like we turn on the ads when it's going to storm or rain.
That is a really good thing that a lot of people, I think, sometimes overlook about PPC is it is instant on off. So it rains one day. Oh crap. Let's turn the ads on. All of a sudden it's sunny 4 days, turn them off. And you're only paying when your ad is being displayed or once your budget's been maxed out. So it's pretty easy to control once you understand what you're doing. I think another big thing that a lot of people ask us is how do you know which type of PPC you should be using?
So I think there's an argument to be made that every business could take advantage of every platform. It just depends on, you advertise different things on different platforms. So I think for Facebook, which also includes Instagram, that whole network, it's important to have the impression, the top of mind awareness type campaigns, especially if you can use, you have access to really good creative and really good photography.
Also like products, I think.
Yeah, of your products, of your services, especially if you sell products. Because then you're able to just like the next time someone's like, oh yeah, I wanted to actually buy that pair of shoes I was looking at, they think like, oh, that's where I'm going to go. Versus like Google is more of a good way to get like kind of more leads, especially through Google search ads, because those are the ones that display in the search results, which, I mean, who doesn't use Google every day?
I'm an avid Bing guy,
Are you?
Yeah, fun fact.
Weird.
It started as a joke, and now it's just I can't go back. I did it to Punk Adam once because he'd always bring up like who uses Bing, and I'm like this guy, and then he called me out on it.
It's like 12%.
Yeah, and it's mostly old people who use Internet Explorer. Yeah. I'm sorry, Edge.
Yeah.
Edge. So yeah, we're rare, but
that's interesting.
But it's also really interesting because if you think about who uses the type of people that use Bing and what your product or what your service is, it might be usually the ads are cheaper.
Yeah.
And it might be a better fit.
I agree.
And we talked about this kind of in the social media episode of Ask Lift Logic when we discussed when like the biggest difference between like Google AdWords and social media is going to be the user intent, right? So when you're on Instagram or Reddit or Facebook, you're probably not necessarily looking for a product, but they're still inserting those ads in there. So it has to be like something you really, really want in order to like click on, or be really interested in. Whereas like if you're in Google and you're searching for like best haircut person near me, like you're literally actively looking for someone to cut your hair. So it's really important on each platform to understand why is the user on this platform and what are they actually looking for? How can I serve them up those ads?
Yeah.
So you might a good PPC strategy might involve Instagram and Facebook and AdWords and Bing ads. And the nice thing I think that you've told me before about like the Bing ads and stuff is you can import them directly from Google.
Yep. You can import them directly and then you can link the accounts. So anytime you make a change in one, in your Google account, it makes the same change in Bing. Your Bing Yahoo. It's called Microsoft Ads technically, and then it runs on Bing and Yahoo. But the platforms are almost identical. Shout out to Microsoft for just making it easy and shamelessly copying
the Google ads.
But I mean, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So the platforms are identical. The keyword match types are a little bit different, which we'll get into in a little bit. What keyword match types are. But otherwise, it's the same thing, and you make one change, and then it applies to everything.
When you're working with a lot of clients for the PPC stuff, do they normally come in with a budget and they're like, hey, I want to spend $5,000 on PPC. How should I do it? Or do most clients come in with I want to put $500 to Instagram and $1,000 to AdWords and $1,000 here? Or is it a combination of that?
I think we get a combination of it. You know, we have some clients who have a set marketing budget and kind of know what they want to spend. They just need our help figuring out how to divide it up and, you know, what's the best way to get what I want for like the best use of all that money. Versus like we have some clients who say like we're interested in running, you know, some ads, but we're not really sure like what is even a good budget to run. To those people I say, you know, 500 or so a month in the Facebook network and like 1,500 or so, 1,000 to 1,500 is really where you need to be to kind of make any impact on Google.
Because once your budget's hit, your ad just stops showing. So if you put $300 in, and obviously it's going to be once again different for every company. Every search term is going to be different priced. So searching for like car accident lawyer might be way more expensive.
Ooh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, way more expensive than like travel blog. I know for a fact is super cheap.
It is.
So you have to kind of take that into account. So once is it a daily budget or a monthly budget?
So Google technically operates on monthly budgets, but they want you to break it down by the day. So I typically take the budget, divide it by 30.4, and then I'll usually lower it by the daily budget by about $1 or $2, because if you read the fine print when you're setting up a campaign, Google does reserve the right to spend up to like 20% more a day if it thinks it's gonna give you more clicks and traffic. Now that being said, it doesn't at the end of, since it's actually a monthly budget, it won't spend more than your monthly budget. So it'll take a day. Maybe you don't have a lot of searches on Sundays. So it's not going to, it'll even itself out. I know I had a client recently reach out to me kind of alarmed that in one day it spent like double their daily budget. But I was like, it's not, you're not going to spend double your budget for the month. Like it's going to even out. It just wants to make sure if people are searching, you're still getting clicks.
How long do you recommend running? Because I think we talk about this with a lot of clients. We always want to use the money as efficiently as possible. And what I mean by that is we're not just going to dump $2,000 into Google Ads or Facebook or whatever if it's not getting like the ROI. And so for us, I think we usually like to have a little flexibility with like, hey, we'll spend $1,000 on AdWords and then $500 on Instagram, $500 on Facebook or Reddit or whatever those other platforms that we're interested in are, and kind of give it a month or two to kind of see what the tracking data is. And then after that, we're able to make a lot more educated decisions. And usually one of the cool things about PPC is the longer you run the campaign, the more and more efficient it gets because you're able to target more and negatize words, and your dollar starts going a lot longer around month 3, month 4?
Yeah, for sure. Especially on Google. I mean, Google's algorithm is like insane. It's probably the most sophisticated algorithm in the world.
I don't know what else it would be. I mean, Bing's got to be up there,
For sure.
They're probably just copying the Google algorithm.
I'm sure they did. But like, the more it can learn about you, the more, and your business and your customers, the better it's going to perform. Especially because, the days of like manually setting your bid and saying, I'm for this keyword, I'm willing to pay this much. That's kind of gone now. Google has a lot of automated bidding strategies for you to use, and same with Facebook. they serve your ad to the people that are more likely to take the action you want. So in Google, whether that's conversions, impression share, what else do we have? Views. I mean, for like video ads, it just depends on what you want. And then they kind of start knowing who's more likely to click and who's more likely to not. And your budget just gets like more efficiently spent. Yeah.
One thing I saw like back during the COVID-19 thing was, like, I mean, it makes sense. Google and Facebook control like 60%, I think, of all digital, basically marketing dollars between like Facebook, Instagram, all the Google different platforms. Like, they're definitely the giants in the industry, always constantly like pushing everything around, and like setting the tone. How do you understand and track your PPC to know if it's making you money or just costing you money? Because it's not like organic, right? When you do an organic and you write a blog or any of that stuff, like it just sits there and maybe one day it blows up, maybe one day it doesn't. But it's kind of like it's just there. PPC stuff is like a monthly fee, right? Like you're paying every single month X amount of money to make money for your business. So is there a way to know exactly how much you spend, how much you've made?
Yeah, and I think you can't run a campaign unless you do. You can't, it's like putting on a blindfold and throwing darts.
Yeah, if you take one thing away from this video and podcast, let it be this. If you're not tracking your PPC, don't do it. You're just literally flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah. You have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if assuming you have a fabulously built website by Lifted Logic.
My next question was literally going to be, does your website actually matter?
Yes, it does. Well, I mean,
I like that shameless plug, by the way.
To the extent that, like, I know that we set up everyone's Google Analytics for them. We set up all of their website's conversion actions. And then within the Google Ads side, once I have both accounts connected, your analytics and your search console connected to Google Ads, then I can just like import your conversions from analytics. And then it's really simple for me to make like quick phone call conversion actions. So we know anytime someone called you, and it's especially, if you don't have a well-built website or you're not able to get someone to, fix the code for you or whatever you need. The nice thing about our websites is that I can easily put the tracking info into the actual phone number on the website. So rather than just knowing who clicked the phone number from your ad, you're also able to know who came to your website and then decided to call as their conversion action.
So it makes it even more accurate.
Yeah. And in Google, we use what's called a position-based form of attribution for conversions. So what that actually does is, the old model was called last click. So it gave all the credit, for lack of a better word, for the conversion to the last keyword or ad someone clicked on. But with position-based, it actually divides up percentages of like credit for each conversion. So like 40% goes to the first click, and 40% goes to the last click. And then within there, if there's other clicks, so that would basically be your customer's journey with your ads. So a lot of the times it's not just one click, one conversion. A lot of the time someone's going to see your ad and interact with your ad a few times. They might click on it one time, they might click on it another time, and then ultimately they're going to call you. So you would see like basically a decimal point in your conversion. So you would see for one keyword, it might be 0.40, and then another one got 0.40, and then your phone number got 0.60. That doesn't equal 100, but whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it.
So then you kind of get to learn more about how people are interacting with your ads, so that you know ultimately what's providing the conversions. And in the Facebook network, they have what's called their tracking pixels. So that's a snippet of code you put on your website. Again, it's super simple for us, our lovely developers. Shout out to them.
Yeah, because you're the best.
For putting up with us, especially all my PPC needs.
We've actually we in-house built an analytics tracking plugin that we give to our clients now that allows them to easily put in tracking codes for analytics, Facebook,
tag manager,
all that stuff. because the devs got sick of us sending them pixels to put into the sites.
Yeah, so I can just put in your Facebook tracking pixel for you. And then Facebook has a really nice feature where you go to your website through Facebook and you click on what actually your conversions actions are. So if it's a submit button, for example, on a form, you click on that button and you say, anytime someone clicks this, it counts as a conversion.
Do you have to do that on every single page?
No.
Just on the page you land them
on? You find like the contact page and the submit button, and then it does it in every submit button.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So that's how you can do it without, because that does require a little bit of coding knowledge. But Facebook has really good tutorials on how to do it. But if it's easier for you, you can just like click on it, say this is it. Other times you'll want to make some for like people hitting a certain page because you may want to run a retargeting campaign on Facebook. Whatever it is, though, they have a really robust tracking system. And obviously, it'll show up in your analytics as well. On the Google Analytics side, you'll see your traffic from Facebook. It's not as in-depth, obviously. You can't see specifically more about ads. So that's why it's important to have a tracking pixel as well. And then Reddit, same thing, has a pixel. Microsoft has their own pixel. But they're all super simple to use if you just can paste it in somewhere. It may be a different challenge for you if you have a website company that's, no longer around or difficult to get in touch with or whatever it is.
Or they don't support the product, any of that kind of stuff. How much does the actual website or your website affect PPC?
A lot.
Why?
Because Google is a service in and of itself.
Same with Facebook, same with Instagram.
Same with any of them, yeah. Like, especially on the ad side, they want to show people the best product for what they're searching for. They want to be super relevant, because if they start being annoying, if you click on an ad thinking that you're looking for a hairstylist and instead it takes you to like a satellite dish company
or a cool 80s track jacket selling company,
like, you're not going to be super happy and you're not going to use that.
You'll become a Bing guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may.
Yeah.
You just may. So that's where you need to think about
what landing page, what your website is, and how you're taking them to the site.
I like totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I got you. I know where you're going.
So that's when you need to think about where you're taking people. The site needs to be good from like a Google standards perspective. So you need to have that HTTPS SSL certificate.
That's the green lock bar that says your website's secure.
Yeah. You need to have, clean, concise code, not just for ads, but for SEO in general. Like, that's just a good thing to have. Google wants your ads to be super, super relevant. So if you're advertising if you're a lawn company and you're advertising for, sprinkler startups, you're going to need to have a page on your website called Sprinkler Startups. It's going to need to have that in the URL. You're going to want to have that in the content a lot.
Is that where landing pages come in?
Yes.
I have a hot take on landing pages that I've been about for a minute. I think that most landing pages, not all, because only Sith deal in absolutes, but I think that most landing pages exist because sites aren't built properly to begin with. And what I mean by that is, if something's important enough for you to be running like an ad campaign to, it's probably a really important part of your business. So why would that page have not already been on your site? That'd be like if we wanted to start running ads for logo design or web design or whatever, like one of those services that we offer that's a staple of our business, but that page didn't exist. Somehow in the content or the design or the development of that site, like there's a big gaping hole.
Wrong.
Yeah. So we work with a lot of clients who are always like, well, I have my site, but I also have like these 7 landing pages on different platforms. That's a giant red flag.
That's a hot mess.
Yeah. That should never be the case. You want it always on like your site. You don't want necessarily be, and like sometimes it's because their site's not built very well, so they think they have more flexibility on this other like subdomain or whatever it is.
A lot of people use their newsletter platforms to make landing pages too,
because they can't edit pages on their own site,
those
which is
are
a whole.
Rough.
They're limited, right? And so kind of going back to what Courtney was saying earlier, the website does matter because it's going to be the vehicle or the boat or whatever you want to say for all your marketing. So if you're going to spend $10 every time someone clicks an ad to take them to your site, You want to make sure that you're taking them somewhere with a good user experience and somewhere they can convert. Otherwise, once again, you're just wasting money.
Yeah, I will say we had a client that only came to us for PPC, and their website was like straight out of like 2000. And they kept, asking why their cost per conversion was going up, or why cost per clicks were going up, or, why aren't we getting more leads? And my ultimate answer was like, because I can get people to your website all day. I can't make them call you.
Yep.
Because your website sucks.
And that's like, that's just like a really good thing to always keep in mind is whatever page you land them on, you want them to talk to the user. And we try to be as upfront with clients as we can. If the site's not good, we tell them, because transparency is important to us. You're going to be paying more for ads and your conversion rate's going to be lower. Some clients say, I don't care. I hear you. I understand. I'm good with it. Other clients are like, what do you mean? Why? How can we fix it? So we work with clients all over the spectrum on that stuff. We just try to be as upfront as possible. When you're running ads to a bad page, it's kind of like you're fighting with one hand behind your back. That doesn't mean you can't win the fight. It just means that it's harder.
Yeah, uphill battles.
Yeah. Another question we get a lot is, how do you figure out what your PPC budget should be? So like not even necessarily how do you break it down. How do you figure out what that core number is for your business?
Yeah. So I think this comes, if you've met with Adam, certainly his lecture about, your profit, even like possibilities, and making sure you're not spending more than you can even make back.
And if you haven't, you can find Adam's TED Talk. Just Google, it's on our site, but you can also Google like Adam Fishman TED Talk on YouTube and it'll pull up. And then you'll have a much more in-depth idea of what Courtney's talking about right now. Yes. Shout out to Adam Fishman. We love you.
So that's like rule number 1 is never spend more than you can even possibly make in a month.
And then cut that in half.
Yeah. And then keep scaling back from there, because obviously you're going to have other expenses and things that you need to take care of. So I think for a lot of businesses, it depends a lot on your profit margins. So obviously, if I'm a realtor, I'm going to need you need to understand that you're going to have a little bit more of a healthier budget, because more on the larger end, like 4,000 or 5,000, because that market is so competitive and saturated. So you're going to want to spend a little bit more on PPC, but when you think about it, if you're able to capture, 3 more clients in a month that ultimately become home buyers or sellers, that's, money in your pocket through your commission that I would imagine is going to be much higher than what you spent on PPC.
I guess then a kind of follow-up question on that. Obviously, so as far as figuring out a budget, we'd always exercise. There's a really like nice sweet spot when you first start between spending enough that you get data to kind of figure out how everything's working for your business, but also enough that your ad doesn't stop showing after 3 days, right? And so Courtney kind of mentioned that earlier. Usually a really good starting budget for like PPC is like $1,500 to $2,000, and dividing that up between like Google ad, maybe Bing, Facebook, Instagram, kind of Reddit, depending on the business, right? Like Reddit ads are gonna be a lot cheaper than Google ads are. And just kind of figuring that out and giving it a month or two to figure out which one's most efficient, working. Is it giving you business? And I think sometimes the approach you should take with ads, and Courtney, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is if you can't afford to lose it, don't spend it, right? Like if you're choosing between like paying your employees or running ads, pay your employees, right?
Or you have to be willing to accept that like if you lose all that money in a month for no leads, which is like highly unlikely, but
it could
like
happen.
It would be okay for you. You're not gonna starve or
that goes right
go under.
And that goes right into my next question: is how do you set realistic expectations for PPC campaigns?
Yeah, so I think we're pretty good about this. We don't mind telling people kind of like what's up. Yeah. So
we had a client once who was paying $22 per click and selling their product for $18. I was a philosophy major, so my math is not great, but I'm pretty sure that does not work for very long.
That's a bad deal.
Yeah, and like we told that up front. We were just like, hey man, this is not a good ROI. Like this is not a good idea. We don't recommend you keep doing this. And he said, I don't care. I want to do it. Any sales are better than no sales. Okay. Still don't think that's true. It's been 4 years. I still
Baffled.
Yeah, still baffled by that. But yeah, like how do you set realistic expectations? Like how if a client comes in and is like, hey, I thought we were going to get 10,000 leads last month through PPC. Like what happened?
Okay, so yeah, if a client came to me and said that, I would first start asking questions like, well, first I would go back and look at their ad account and just look and see, you know, did anything weird happen? Was there some sort of like crazy spike? Was there some sort of crazy drop? And if we determine ultimately that like everything in the ad looks okay or in the ad account looks okay, then we start asking, you know, how good are your front desk staff at actually talking to people and converting them? How
good is the page they're being taken to?
Yeah. So we look at the website and we say, does this have the right wording on it? Is there something missing? Did we not put a contact button where we should have? Because that's when you start looking about user experience with your ad and thinking, what about this experience would make someone not ultimately convert? So that would also be things like, you know, speaking to someone who's scheduling at the front desk, or, you know, what's the price of your product or service? Maybe that's ultimately what's driving people away. You know, we had a client who is an e-commerce client who noticed that they were getting a lot of traffic, but not a lot of actual purchases. So we started offering free shipping, and we put that on all the ads to see, you know, if that would encourage people. We also have done free samples. So putting that kind of messaging in the ads, and once people get to the website, seeing that they can get a free sample of the product. Things like that could also kind of move the needle on your conversions. Like those are changes I would suggest making before cutting your budget or stopping ads entirely. You know, like let's look at one thing we can change, and then let's track how it goes, and then we'll decide again from there. And usually if you've had an ad campaign running for, you know, 4, 5, 6+ months, we can make those changes kind of on a month-to-month basis. Like we could change the ads and see what happens. And like within a month, you're probably going to have enough kind of data to make a decision on whether we try something else, whether we need to keep doing what we're doing, whatever it is.
And even just like taking a step back is figuring out what's the KPI for the campaign. Like we've had clients who it's selling a product. We have clients, shout out to Overland Park Convention Center. They got best, they got best convention center in the Midwest in the country for 2020, which is awesome. And they wanted to run a campaign, and the entire point of the campaign was impressions.
Yeah, we got them like 2 million in like 3 days.
And so like for us as a company, we're so trained for conversion.
That was weird.
When Brittany came in and was like, hey, we just want impressions, it was
kind of fun.
It was really fun. It was just completely different.
I was like, how can I get as many people to see this as possible? They even got some conversions out of that game. Like 2 or 3, but hey, for a convention center, if you get a few more conventions to hold, like I can only imagine how much money that makes.
Yeah. So like I think the first thing is just always figuring out what's the actual goal of the campaign. Should I run my PPC campaigns myself, or should I hire independent contractors? Should I hire an agency? Like how do I know the right fit for my business?
Ooh, big question. Okay, so Facebook offers a kind of basic for businesses. You can boost a post, right? We all know about that.
Yeah. Does it work? I mean, that's probably a whole nother conversation.
Depends on what you want out of it.
Depends on the goals.
Usually boosting a post is just going to kind of get you more likes and engagement. You might get some more followers out of it. You know, I would boost things that are, if it's an event or a special that you're running or something like that. So that's something that's pretty basic and easy for like the average business owner to use. Facebook makes it pretty straightforward. There's not quite so many technical aspects of it as like Google, for example. So you can kind of go through with that and, you know, select who you want to target and their ages and where they are and all of those things. That part of Facebook's pretty straightforward. However, if you want to do a lot more with the Facebook Instagram network, you're going to have to either do a lot of learning on Facebook Business Manager and how all of that works and creating ads through Ads Manager, you know, the whole Events Manager, everything that's part of that whole suite for Google or Facebook Business, which a lot of people haven't even heard of. Like they don't even know it's available. Like, but you can set it up for free with your you just use your personal Facebook account with whatever page is associated with it for your business, and then you have a business manager account and you get a lot more features. it is a little bit more confusing for people who aren't, kind of well versed in the marketing space. So that's when I would consider, once you're past boosting posts and you don't have any prior experience than that, that's when you're going to want to talk to someone.
Yeah. So if you're not willing to dedicate hours upon hours upon hours to learning how to manage, like start the ads and then actually manage them, it's probably best to hire it out.
Yeah. Google Ads is like pretty technical. They do offer a product called Google Ads Express that's more marketed toward the business owners who just want to get some ads on Google themselves. I've transferred a few clients. We have clients who just come to us for consulting about their PPC accounts. They run it themselves, but they want to know more. We have direct lines into Facebook and Google and things like that. So we can kind of share how they can be doing it better. From what I've seen and experienced with Google Ads Express is that it's going to work, but it's also going to not be like, it's not an option where you can try to get as, cheap as possible clicks, or you're not going to be able to optimize and kind of do some of the things that help you spend your budget better. It's when you have to use Google Ads, which is, it's a pretty intimidating platform. Like the first year I was on it, I was like scared to death to do anything because I'm like,
And now you're a certified ad specialist.
I know, and there's a lot in there, and if it changes constantly, so if you're not up on it, it can be dangerous,
and you're just costing yourself money.
Yeah, some people try to set it up themselves, and then they have these ridiculous accounts that like make my head just like want to explode. So I would say if you're wanting to run Google Ads, if you have a high profit kind of thing, if you have, if you're a garage door repair company, you're probably, and you operate nationwide, that's when I would say you either need to hire someone in-house that's just a specialist. And that can be kind of expensive when you think about payroll and things like that for a full-time employee, especially one who has like kind of a lot of technical knowledge. So coming to a third party is also a really good option.
How do agencies usually charge for PPC management? I know some do a percentage of spend versus like just a flat fee. Which one's better?
So we used to have an employee who we will not name, who worked for a large ad agency that we will also not name, that would charge percentage of spend. So in that model, for example, let's say you're advertising for attorneys in San Francisco for like medical malfunction devices, like faulty drug type stuff. So the average cost per click on those markets is like literally like hundreds of dollars. Like you could be paying $120, $125
because the settlement's worth millions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And those lawyers obviously get a big chunk of those things. So it's worth it for them if they can afford it, Yeah. So what he would do, for example, with his clients is like
at his old company.
Yes, he would have multiple of the same client that does the same exact thing. And he would come to one and say, not that he did this is the company. I'm not like dogging on him. This is kind of what he was forced to do and why he left. So he would come to one client and say, okay, your cost per click right now is $78. We need you to spend $12,000 a month on this. I've even had a client who was an attorney in Kansas City, and like our budget recommendation was like $30,000 a month to be able to do anything. So, we say you need to have $15,000 a month, and we're advertising with an average cost per click of $78. So then your cost per click is largely based on the competition in the area. So how many people are also willing to pay X amount of dollars for that same click? So I'm going to come to client number 2 and say, hey, we have this cost per click of $78, but we're seeing that there's some other people bidding we're out that much. So if you want to beat them, you're going to need to spend $82 a click, and we're going to need $18,000. So then what they do is they charge, no matter what you spend in a month, they charge you a percentage of that spend. So they're going to charge 10%. So either way, they're making what, $1,500?
Yeah.
Off a $15,000 budget. but they're,
But it's usually more than that. It's usually like, what, 25%?
I think 20,
Yeah. It's a good chunk.
$3K.
It just incentivizes you to spend or them to spend more
so
money
I'm gonna drive all my clients against each other
to get their price up.
They're all competing against each other. So I'm gonna keep telling them, hey, we need more money, and at the same time, I'm charging a percentage of their spend. So I'm gonna be buying for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna buy for their name, for like I'm not gonna put any negative keywords in. We're gonna be showing up for like the worst attorney ever. Or whatever the search is at all times of day. We're going to max out the budget, and we don't care because the more they spend, the more I make. Flat fee is exactly what it sounds like. You come to me and you say, I have $5,000 a month, and someone else comes to me and says, I have $1,500 a month. We still charge the same amount. So we say, what do we need to do in a month to make this a successul campaign?
And a lot of times we're looking like an individual kind of case by case basis because some accounts take way more time than others. Like you can have an account that's $10,000 a month that you need to check once a week. And then you can have one that's $2,000 a month that you need to check every day.
Yeah.
So each one's kind of unique in that way. And so we always try to work with clients to figure out what makes sense for them.
Yeah, I have a $20K a month client account that is basically runs itself. And, then some of the clients have $1,500 a month budgets, and I have to get in there every week or a couple times a week to monitor and make adjustments and do whatever. So it really depends on how many campaigns they have, what the KPI is, how often it kind of fluctuates and changes, competition, all of those types of things. But we say if it's 2 hours a month, it's 2 hours a month, and that's what you pay us for the hourly fee.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 4, it's 4.
That seems a lot more straightforward. What's like the coolest thing about PPC or like most interesting thing that you know about that you don't think average person does?
Ooh, that's a cool one.
Yeah, I've been adding questions while we've been sitting here. My brain's been turning.
I honestly, a lot of my friends, they're not that educated on like how they know about ads and obviously, but they don't know how a lot of them work. So like when I can kind of like blow their minds is like, especially talking about how like creepy I can get. Yeah. Especially on Google or even Facebook. 'Cause I mean, there's like a theory that Facebook can like predict they know when you're going to get married. They know when you're going to have your first child. They know like all these things about you because think about how much information you give Google and Facebook every single day.
My personal goal is to prove Facebook wrong. That's why I'm holding out.
I mean, I downloaded my Google data.
Yeah, that's terrifying, isn't it?
I was hearing recordings of my voice from years ago. I saw pictures I hadn't seen in 10 plus years. Like every single search query I've ever had. It's like, whoa. And they tell you kind of in that data, you can see what they think about you, like your advertising profile. It's kind of interesting to see how accurate it is. My work one is actually
really weird.
It thinks I'm like an old lady.
It's all those med spas.
I really want a lot of Botox and facelifts. So it thinks I'm like, 50, which was funny to look at too, to compare the two. But like my personal one, I mean, you're interacting with Google. Google owns the world. I mean, they own your thermostat. They own your email,
your speaker,
your GPS system, your home speaker, Fitbit.
Yeah.
I mean, they know everything about you. And Facebook, you offer that up all the time, information too. So it's actually really interesting the way that we can target people to get them. Mm-hmm.
I always joke with clients because they'll complain about ads, and I'll say there's always going to be an ad there. Might as well be ours, right? Because like we have our remarketing turned up really aggressively, and the clients are like, "I see your ad everywhere." I'm like, "Well, there's going to be an ad there anyway, so at least you know it's us, right?"
Yeah.
But yeah, the amount of creepiness you can get on PPC, because Google and Facebook will tell you anything if you pay them for it.
Oh yeah, and essentially those companies have just become data mines.
Mm-hmm. My last question I have today in PPC topic, Ask Lifted Logic, is what is your favorite PPC platform and why?
What is my favorite? Google.
Google?
Google.
Because
it's just everything you could ever want.
I really thought you were going to go spin zone like Reddit or TikTok or like Snapchat.
Wait,
or something.
Is there TikTok advertising?
Oh, hell yeah.
That's amazing.
It's huge. It's really cheap right now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to want a Gen X audience.
No, so it's really interesting. Because I listen to a lot of like Gary Vee stuff. And he's talking about how when he's selling like something to the dad, he knows that if he advertises it to the kid, it'll get to the mom who will get it to the dad. And so it's like a very different, like, it's not like a direct like linear thing, right? But it's like if the kid knows about it and sees about it, he's probably going to bug the parent long enough, and then the mom or the wife is going to be like,
but you still have
to
advertise things that the kid that's gonna grab the kid's attention.
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
they don't care about seeing ads for like plumbers or.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I just it's interesting. Like TikTok, obviously, and like that's really good. Another like a last point to hit on is the pricing for each platform is going to be different, and usually up and coming platforms are cheaper, right? So like the TikTok, LinkedIn is still really, really cheap to advertise on. That's just something to keep in mind when you're starting to think about which platform. Reddit is also still relatively really cheap.
Even Facebook is even pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. I haven't really seen any ads above like $2 a click.
Yeah.
It's a lot more affordable than people think, I think. But
yeah. So you pick Google.
I pick Google. I mean, they also have the best, like, I'm not even being paid to say this. They have the best support. Like, they're the only Facebook. Getting in touch with Facebook support like makes me want to just like
it's hard
beat my head against a wall. Like it's basically non-existent. And once they give you like a reply, that's it. It's done. It's closed. You can't even like go back and forth. So Google, I mean, they have 24/7 support. It takes you less than 10 minutes to get either someone on the phone or someone on a live chat. If they can't answer your question right away, they're really, good about giving you updates and getting back to you.
Their customer service is really good because they know that's where they're going to make money.
Yeah. So Google all the way.
Cool. Do you have any last PPC thoughts?
Do I? I don't think so. Keep
it?
clicking on ads, people.
Yeah. Apparently people do that. Who knew?
I don't, but yeah. I mean, okay, shopping ads always get me on Instagram. I won't lie.
It's always some type, right? Feel free to hashtag AskLL on social media, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can. But keep in mind, there are no stupid questions, especially in the digital space.